There was a surprise drop this week. Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. It's time for that weekly mod collection demo shop update. We're starting things off with A-OK Koa. This is a very interesting Les Paul special because it didn't drop at the same time as the other 7 this week. If I remember correctly, it was like a day and a half later they just randomly put it up on the website. It's a base model of a Les Paul special, so usually P90 pickups. We've omitted the pickguard, we've been upgraded to full-on humbuckers, you've got the ABR1 bridge and stop bar tailpiece instead of a wraparound. You've got these ambered knobs, but reportedly a Koa top with some other design kind of making it look like a neck-through instrument. That's kind of interesting. But next up, you go to your fretboard, it's like a Les Paul custom. It's bound, it's ebony, it's got real mother-of-pearl block inlays. I was kind of hoping when we got to the headstock, it would also be like Les Paul custom up here, but no, you have no silkscreen, just the Gibson mother-of-pearl. Looks like we've got the Grover tuners. However, if you look along the edge, it almost looks like there's a single band of binding, or the finish has runneth over. When you actually look on the side, no, that's actually just the Hollywood veneer showing. So they must have just scraped the finish a little bit along the edges. Now when we flip it over to the back, it's just regular mahogany neck and body. It appears to be a satin finish, and is Demo Shop Serial 107. But whoa, was not expecting mini Grovers. But unfortunately, we don't get any side profile shots. They're saying this is a real Koa top put over that mahogany body. And that the top finish is actually gloss, as well as the headstock, but it's just the back that's satin. It was listed at $6,700, but it did end up selling. But next, we've got one of the modern Supremes in Midnight Blueberry Burst at $4,700. So at first, it just kind of looks like a nice dark blue burst. They've got those extra red ambered knobs, kind of matches your switch tip, but if we adjust the contrast, you can tell it's just like regular Blueberry Burst. There's also a purple layer around the blue before it goes black. The chrome hardware works pretty well with that color scheme. But for me, I love the headstock. It's not the first time we've seen them play with the chandelier having different colors. I would appreciate seeing that get used on like a production limited edition at some point. But whoa, hold the phone. This photo reveals that there's a little bit of a black galactic sparkle running along the edges and maybe just a little bit sprinkled on in the interior as well. Well, it's still currently available and I don't see a full back shot, so I can't tell if that's black or if they've messed with it even further. But now we've got a standard 50s in black and gold noir at $3,300. So at first, yeah, it looks like a black Les Paul standard. It's got the cool binding going on. You got a Bigsby B7 installed on it. It really does look pretty sweet. With the whole flat black with the shiny gold. Your headstock wasn't changed too much outside of the tuners. But where this one gets interesting is the back. It's completely gold, so you got a cool contrast there, but then they throw the extended ebony stinger onto the back. But that appears to be a satin finish. And oh goody, they kinda gave us the photo that shows the top and sides at the same time. Well, that's definitely a hefty one. But next we have a 57 special with the Crimson Widow treatment for $4,500. So it's a really great robust red burst finish. Extra dark, kind of reminds me of that silver burst one last week in the demo shop. But then if you zoom into your fretboard there, you can see a little bit of red peeking over the edges. That's because the edge of the binding is painted red. But then we move to the face of it, you can also see your Gibson logo is painted the same way. And then you flip over to the back, you can see you've got the burst there on the neck, the back of the headstock, as well as the edges of the headstock. They really went all out on this one. And this photo right here seems to suggest that maybe even the exact edges are red. So there's definitely more than meets the eye to that particular one. Although surprisingly, still available. They also had a Midnight Indigo version for a little bit less at $4,100. I wish Gibson would start lightening up their purple finishes. It's just so hard to appreciate these until we adjust the contrast. Purple guitars will sell like crazy, but for whatever reason, they're just making them all so dark. But it seems to be a relatively traditionally spec special. And again, they've purpled out our headstock. And then I can't tell at time of recording if it's got the burst on the back of the body. It almost looks like it, but it might just be a dark purple in general. This photo might be a better representation of what to expect in person. But this was one of my favorites this week. Look at that. Standard 50 Sublime Gold Burst. Oh man, I just realized what they did there. Sublime Gold Burst. Lime coloring Gold Burst. Yeah, now you get it. Wow, that is quite an in-your-face Christmas tree color. It's like the old Gecko bursts, but just so many colors. But it's a regular standard 50s otherwise outside of your finish. But get this, they really toned it down. It's just like a gold top. You've got a crazy top, natural back and sides. That's what we've got here. And granted, green into yellow burst isn't going to be the most popular seller, but I'm not surprised that one found a home. But now we've got this interesting $2,500 SG Standard. It has an 80s/early 90s vibe to it, but it's just a really flat blue with a pink pickguard. I think somebody left a comment this week saying, hey, Trogly, the ugliest SG ever was just posted. I think this is the one he was referring to. I mean, it's not that bad, but it's definitely unique. Just remember, you could always swap that pickguard out with something else that might complement it. But you have to keep in mind, you've got the Burstbucker 61 and 57 Classic in it, and you also have the whole push-pull for coil splitting. But whoa, okay, it spoke to somebody. $2,500, sold. But now we got a 3-pickup Les Paul Custom in all gold. At $7,000, remember, all gold. This is most certainly not all gold. They put chrome hardware on it. But it appears to be a regular Les Paul Custom because you've got the Nashville-style bridge rather than the ABR1 of the 57 reissue, because usually this is how they spec the 57s. But we've got that whole Vibromate spoiler system on the traditional Bigsby. They've got our kind of 70s-inspired witch hat knobs. The finish is indeed all gold all over the guitar, and it's got a 2024 serial number. But ooh, you can really see the outline of that custom decal. I'm not surprised to see that one still there because that's quite a hefty premium for a regular Les Paul Custom. But to be fair, I mean, you do have custom buckers in here. And that was everything in the mod collection this week. Until we head over to the EU side, they've got a super short scale bass in deep great metallic at €3,800. Longtime viewers of the show, you're going to remember this one. It was posted about a year ago. It seems the rejects that weren't able to sell in the USA shop, they typically got sent down to the Gibson garage, and then if they couldn't sell them, they ship them overseas and they try again with the EU mod collection. And then if they don't sell there, I don't know if they're going to start moving them to their Gibson garage. The big question is what happens if it doesn't sell there? Where do they get shipped off to next? I actually had Ingo, a viewer of the show. He went down and tracked all of the ones that were reposted this week. This is the only one that really stuck in my memory because how many other guitars have been factory converted into basses by Gibson? So this started life as a regular ES335. They just transformed it into a bass. It's super short scale. I would assume still 24 3/4. The reason they had to redo the headstock is because they had to fill in the existing holes. DS0071. But there was this Les Paul Classic in Mulberry Jam. I definitely remember the color, but I don't remember this guitar at all. It's just kind of a dark indigo-ish purple hue with the abalone toppered HP performance style knobs. Then you get kind of a rustic looking back. And while we're looking at this, sometimes if a guitar gets returned for, various reasons, I think they also send it on down the process line. That way they're not reposting things. But that one was $2,700. They had a sea glass green metallic satin. This is one of those 80s Explorers. I like that you can still see the wood grain underneath it. And they continued that same stuff along the back. Now you might be saying, what's going on with this headstock? Why is this line right here? Well, that's normal. They spliced that on for the headstock. But since this piece of mahogany was a vastly different color from this piece of mahogany, it shows up underneath the finish. And then lastly, a 70s style Explorer in classic white that they gave a P94 pickup in the neck. They mix-matched your hardware, gave you new knobs, new pickguard. It's a colorful mess, but they left the back alone relatively, outside of our new black tip tuners. But brace yourselves for this one, guys. You're not going to believe how many guitars the USA demo shop gave us this week. It's mind-blowing. 1. We usually get like 30 or 40, but this is literally all they dropped this week. Only updated one time. Regular Les Paul Classic Ebony. Nothing special about it at all, except for a replaced nut. But now the UK, this is what stood out to me. An Epiphone Hummingbird for $850 USD. I just thought it had, decent looking for an import guitar. Like it's got the whole sapele back stuff going on. And then the neck has this kind of interesting candy cane striping. But interesting. Made in Indonesia. Then they also had one of those Epiphone Matt Heafy Les Pauls, which has an update to that prototype I bought. It took Gibson like a month or something to ship it, and now it's just kind of in my backlog of things that I still need to unbox. So that review is still coming, if you remember. But this one's got like some interesting yellowing going on, and then it's like scraped better in other areas. Then lastly, the European demo shop. For $1,100, check out this master-built Epiphone Excelente. This thing's really cool. Look at the pickguard. You've got this great bald eagle on it, going in to land on a branch and like some pine cones above it. But now look at your bridge. It's kind of like shortened. But then you've got so much fancy ornamentation on this neck. It's ridiculous. You've got like the J200 cloud style inlays and then just one big custom block. And then I don't know exactly what they were going for on the headstock. Is it supposed to be just a bigger cloud? Because you've got the little whoopity woos over here and over here, and then they just put a big old thing of pearl there. It kind of reminds me of like a elongated banjo headstock, but it's cool. We've got the purfling and super binding layers on the neck. And then you get back here, Clusen wafflebacks, multi-layered laminated neck with a heel cap. And then get this, that looks like a rosewood back to me. But down here they call it something I've never heard of before. Whatever it is, it's cool. I would happily review that. They're $1,300 brand new. But do they all look that good is the big question. No, they do not. See, this back doesn't have that same vibe to it as far as the waffle backs and everything else. Something about that example in the demo shop just had a lot more cool characteristics within the wood. But if anybody wants to do Guitar Day one, just let me know. I would happily review that. Suppose we should add to our sample size. Let's check this one out. For sale in Rock Shop, Switzerland. Yeah, not quite the same. This one has a particularly special back, and it ships with a Gibson hardshell case. That's a nice bonus. But then they also had a really old Sheryl Crow acoustic for $3,800. Now this was obviously lent out to somebody to play for as long as they wanted to, or it was a showroom display piece. It's got nicks, dings, scratches, dust, everything. But look at that serial number, 2008. A little over 15 years of wherever it was. I mean, the fretboard looks like it's all been scratched up. Not quite sure what's going on there, but just lots of use. And apparently tons of string changes. Look at how bad the condition of those are. Authentically aged, you could say. Then they also had one of the Epiphone BB King Lucille's for $900, including value-added tax. Then they also had an 80s Flying V, which when I was looking through these photos, when I saw this, I was like, what? Vertical serial number? I had to go back to my review and demo and go, yeah, sure enough, it is there. I don't remember if I criticized that in that video or not, but 80s Flying V should have serial numbers printed the exact same way. None of this up and down stuff. And lastly tonight, one for the lefties. Regular J45 standard. Nothing too crazy. All right, Troglodytes, I hope you enjoyed this recap. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you tomorrow on the next one. Take care.